Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Bricktown Brewery and Bricktown Brewery's Oklahoma Sportscene. I'm Chris Lincoln, along with the coaches, J.B. Haney and Gil Cloud. Guys, a special show for us. Our first time out of the studio on remote here at Bricktown, South Peoria in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And just the start of some fun times on the road here with our big sponsors, Bricktown Brewery and Jimmy's A.
I bet we're going to get some good food tonight.
Ooh, you know that for sure, Coach.
Oh, my goodness. They already got the chips out.
That's right.
Salsa.
Wow.
So, I think we'll be in great shape here.
That'll be the second show each month. We tape on Mondays. That'll be the second week on Monday, and then the third week on a Monday, we'll be having breakfast, right?
Jimmy's Egg will be at 71st and Garnett, the Jimmy's Egg, and of course they're open until 2 o'clock every day. So I think it's really going to be one of those things where you come out and have breakfast with us and get your day started correctly.
Well, Bricktown Brewery, we try to tape on Mondays, the second Monday of the month, about 5:30. Come on in, enjoy Bricktown hospitality and some of their Bricktoberfest brews. And then, of course, Jimmy's Egg. And Coach Haney, I know you love that breakfast at Jimmy's Egg. That'll be the third Monday of the month.
Oh, I tell you what, you cannot get one minus on breakfast at Jimmy's Egg. Everything is a plus.
Looking forward to that. So please join us next Monday night, the third Monday of the month of October here. We'll be there at Jimmy's Egg, 9 a.m. for breakfast. Join us for that. All right, guys, let's take a look at the lineup right now. It's a great one. Joe Washington, Little Joe, is going to be here.
Little Joe, never forget the silver shoes.
That's right.
And all the punt returns and kickoff returns and everything else. What a great ambassador for the University of Oklahoma.
And Rogers State University's athletic director, Chris Ratcliff, will be here, JV.
Well, I tell you what, anytime you look at what is going on with our guests, you can't beat them, Chris. You do a great job of bringing them.
And Mike Whaley, one of your cohorts, and of course in Oklahoma City coming over here, the OSS AAA.
Mike Whaley, has been down there since 09. They've gone through a lot of changes, and he'll come in today and he'll talk to us about emerging sports and really what the membership looks like in the OSSAA.
And this past Sunday, we had the Oklahoma City Thunder here in Tulsa. Their one preseason trip they always make over here. BLK Center was almost sold out, guys. I tell you, I was sitting with Sam Presley, their general manager. He was so impressed with the crowd and the support the Thunder get here on this side of the state.
Really, the only thing I heard, all through this is that it should have been called the Oklahoma Thunder rather than the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
Well, now that was a sellout, wasn't it?
And real close to it, really was, Coach. And some good action, too. We'll talk more about that and have a little music video for you, kind of showing the color and excitement of NBA basketball in Tulsa. Then, of course, as usual, our Remington Report. Another big week of racing. Remington Park, the Thoroughbreds right now. Dale Day will wrap that up for us now. All right, guys. Roundtable discussion, hot topics. Oh, baby, there's nothing hotter right now than from Norman, Oklahoma. As we tape on Monday, it just became official. The University of Oklahoma has said goodbye to their 12-year defensive coordinator. Mike Stoops is out at OU.
After the play on Saturday, there was no question that there needed to be some changes, whether it was personnel or whether it was coaches. There had to be something there, and I think, unfortunately for Mike Stoops, the bell tolled for him, and it was one of those things that I think it's a business, and people don't understand that Division I athletics is a business. It's all about money. It's all about attendance. It's all about who comes and watches those young people play, and when you're losing, people don't come to watch you play.
JB, were you surprised they made this move at mid-season?
No, I thought they were going to make it maybe before.
Yeah.
Because when you start to look from after this has happened, then a lot of other things come to surface, I think. And the fact that the way the defense had played, I think it was inevitable.
I think the most glaring thing that I saw in the football game was the mismatch of the Oklahoma defensive backs and the Texas receivers. We had 5'11" defensive backs, and they had 6'4" receivers.
Yeah.
You're not going to win that battle.
Right.
And when Ellinger was throwing the ball the way he was, our guys couldn't jump high enough to catch it, but they could. And so, it was a mismatch. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, that's something that Oklahoma needs to look at.
Yeah, and I thought that several times during the course of the game that they would get a penalty that was absolutely they shouldn't have gotten. I mean, a holding penalty, the things that were grabbing a face mask. There were things that happened that really stopped an offensive drive.
I think one of the biggest penalties was when they had driven down the field and scored.
Yeah.
And they stopped them, and they were driving down the field again, and the tight end catches the ball and goes out of bounds. And there's a holding call.
Yeah.
And instead of being 1st and 10 on the 20, now it's 3rd and 15 back on the 40. And from that point on, the offense went south.
And that holding penalty, there was no doubt about it.
Yeah. Oh, right. No question. Oh, he grabbed him. Yeah.
Some of these defensive stats, I know, and Coach Stoops, Mike Stoops, of course, said after he was embarrassed and upset and took a lot of the blame on himself. But here are the numbers right now on the OU defense this year, guys. They're out of 129 teams playing Division I college football. OU is 96 in total defense. We have 421 yards a game, 106 in passing, over 264. Third down conversions, they're 124th, next to last in red zone. They haven't stopped anybody in the red zone this year.
And when you're playing at that level, and we know in the Big 12 that the offense dominates the Big 12, but when you score 45 points and you can't win the football game, you know that, and the numbers. I mean, they spell out exactly where we are today with a new defensive coordinator interim.
Yep.
Ruffin McNeil.
And Bob Diaco also will help with that.
Right. He'll be in the booth, I understand.
That's right. Be interesting to see what happens to that. Of course, OU has an open date, which they'll need time to get things worked out. By the way, of course, a lot of sports fans here at Bricktown Brewery. We went around and asked a few of them their reaction to Mike Stoops being fired at OU.
My name is Chase, and I want to thank Texas for getting rid of Mike Stoops for us. So that was, I think it'll work out for everybody.
And I'm glad Mike Stoops is gone.
And I just got to say, lost to Texas, something had to happen.
Football is business. You know, you have a multi-million-dollar sport that happens at OU, and unfortunately didn't produce the last few years, and they made a decision to cut him loose, and they're going to move on to somebody else.
They've lost many games, and they're going to blame it on him on this one. So I don't know. I think they should keep him for a while, you know.
It's been a long time coming, actually a couple of years. You lose to Texas, come on. We can't do that.
Starting week 7 of the college football season, let's take a look at the national poll. And guys, you surprised OU dropped from 7 out of the top 10, but just to 11.
I tell you, I'm surprised they didn't drop any further than that the way they played. And I still think Texas is an unknown quantity.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. They lost early to a Maryland team that has lost since that time. So you wonder, are they getting better? Were they not accustomed, to their players or what? I think the Big 12 is still wide open.
Yeah, West Virginia is ranked number 6 in the poll this week. Texas has jumped all the way from 17 to number 9 thanks to Oklahoma. And then JV, South Florida, coming to Tulsa Friday night to play TU, ranked 23rd in the nation.
Well, it seems to me like that with South Florida, like some of the other schools in Florida, they are really coming forward. So I'm not surprised that where they are ranked, and they're going to be tough for TU.
Well, we can't get away without saying something about the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And boy, that was a tough one. They lose at home again, 48-42 to Iowa State. And it is unbelievable to think that they have lost 4 of their last 7 home games, favored every one of them in the Big 12 Conference, Coach.
And, had their quarterback sacked 7 times during the football game. He had to get up Sunday feeling awful bad. And I tell you what, I heard somebody talking today that they didn't think that it was as simple as Gundy thought it was. Gundy said, hey, it's an offensive line situation. We got to get the offensive line straightened out. It could be a little bit more than that. With the receiver leaving and him not wanting to talk anything about that, where are we there?
Arkansas falls to 1-5, 0-3 in the SEC as they took a beating at the hands of Alabama. No surprise there. The Oklahoma City Thunder, we mentioned, we're here on Sunday for the NBA preseason game. They always come over here to the BLK Center in Tulsa to give us one game at least a season. And they beat up on the Atlanta Hawks, 113-94. Good to see Trae Young, the former Sooner, back here at 16 points. Paul George led the way for the Thunder with 22 points. Our man Terry McDaniel was there. He was having a great time with his camera, catching some of the color, the excitement of Thunder basketball in Tulsa. work, Trevor. I don't know, had more fun with that. Trevor's having a great time down there on the court with the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, guys, looking ahead to college football this week. And the great thing with a weekly show now, Coach, you can talk about the games that are coming up here. Of course, the first one, Friday night, the University of Tulsa hosting number 23 South Florida.
It's going to be a tough night. South Florida has really come on, and they've had a good program for the last 5 or 6 years. So, and the Hurricane really right now struggles a little bit. I think they might have found a little bit in their offense this last week with Boomer. I think he might be the one. They didn't have the number of turnovers. They did have 2 turnovers in the game, but still, I think it's a big game, and it's something they've got to start winning at some point.
I know Collinsville High is going to be proud of Seth Boomer. Good to see him get his first start, and did a good job from TU down there. Coach, OU open date. Couldn't come at a better time. How about Oklahoma State going to Kansas State?
Well, anytime Oklahoma State goes away from home, they play better than they do at home.
That's true.
So I would have to think they would have a chance, but yet they have been playing so bad at times that it just it's a flip of a coin.
Arkansas in Little Rock. They'll be hosting Ole Miss in an SEC game this Saturday. Well, I mentioned we're at Bricktown Brewery here at 3301 South Peoria in Tulsa. Bricktown Brewery, our main sponsor and host, and we have with us Heather Bassett's going to introduce us to, there she is. Heather, let's introduce us to Bricktoberfest. What do we have here? Heather Bassett, their general manager.
We have Bricktoberfest. It tapped October 4th. This is a true Marzen-style lager. We brewed it in celebration of Oktoberfest, of course. See?
Very nice.
Nice copper color and
beautiful.
Nice and toasty.
Wow.
This is our single string stout.
Wow.
This is a darker beer with the chocolate and coffee notes.
Oh my goodness, chocolate! I love chocolate.
Our blueberry ale.
Oh, blueberries!
It's
I like
a
blueberries.
light, crisp ale. It has a perfect amount of blueberries.
And
this is our Old King Kolsch.
Oh, that's definitely JV.
This is a light crisp ale with balanced with light grains, and it has a low hop profile to give it a nice smooth finish.
Heather, can't thank you for hosting us here tonight. Will you be back to show us some comfort foods?
Wow.
A special little meal we have too set up, right?
Definitely so.
All right, Heather, thank you very much. Back with more of Bricktown Brewery's Oklahoma Sportscene right after this.
2 Triple Crowns in the last 4 years have reawakened America to the magnificent thoroughbred. And now, we've got our own triple to celebrate. 3 decades of excitement. The Oklahoma Classics and Arts Festival returns to Remington October 19th with a night of entirely Oklahoma-bred thoroughbred racing. Plus an arts festival, live music, and more Friday, October 19th. Remington's 30th. Thoroughly thrilling.
Robertson Tire has been locally owned and serving Tulsa for the past 50 years, but we're much more than a tire shop. We handle alignments, oil changes, brakes, and much more. For all our services, coupons, and location information, visit us online at robertsontire.com.
Back at Bricktown Brewery for our Bricktown Brewery Oklahoma Sports Scene, and we couldn't be happy to have this very special guest with us, Silver Shoes himself, Joe Washington, 2-time All-American running back, University of Oklahoma, of course a Super Bowl champion as well, 2-time national champion in college football. Joe, it made me feel old. I covered you in 74, 75 with back-to-back national champions. Great times.
Well, we are old. We are old.
When I said Joe Washington, you immediately said Silver Shoes.
That's right. Absolutely. There's no question about it. And we got this book.
Now, what are the 7 secrets of the Silver Shoes?
You got to read the book. That's the only way to promote it, you know.
That's right. For those who don't know, tell the story of the Silver Shoes. And I thought Coach Switzer was going to just come undone, and you're trying to hide that from him.
Well, you know, I didn't think of it myself. It was my brother's idea. And when I finally did, you know, paint them silver, and the issues were for right off the bat. I'm a freshman at the University of Oklahoma. They've got Joe Whaley, Leon Crosswhite, and Greg Pruitt in the backfield, and I'm wearing silver shoes. So my brother convinced me to do it, but I couldn't do it right away. I had to break in, show him that I belong here a little bit, and then I painted them on a road trip. And it was the only game we actually lost.
Oh, no.
Because I painted them in the dressing room right before we went out to practice. I mean, to play the game.
Right.
Now, being a coach's son, I understand all the nuances of coaching.
Yeah.
Now, while I was painting them in the stall, Dan Ruster peeked over the top and said, "Look, Joe, what are you doing?" I said, I'm painting my shoes silver. He said, well, why are you doing it now? I said, if I painted them while we were out practicing and warming up, coaches look at everything.
Yeah.
They would have told me to go change. But I'm doing it right before we go out to play. They aren't looking anywhere close to my feet at that particular point there. But what I think what happened while I was painting them, we're at 5,280 feet in Colorado. The air is light as it is. I'm spraying. Dan's, I know he's a little tipsy because he's over the top doing that. And I'm spraying them, and I'm looking, and Jack Barrett's running around hot. What is that smell? What is that smell? So I take blame. No one said anything about the shoes. Maybe because I didn't put the red shoestrings in and the the red accent.
Right.
Red accent. You notice I said accent.
That's good.
And we lost the game, and no one said anything about my shoes, and that was it. But 2 weeks later, I did all of it, and I put them in the bag, and no one said anything until the next day. We were looking at film, and Coach was running projector. Now, granted, he's not the head coach. He's the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
So he's running the plays back, commenting on this run I made, which was a good run, and I was pleased with it because this was the week I was starting. And he runs it back like coaches do, runs it back. And being the coach's son, as I say I am, he runs it back that 7th time.
Uh-oh.
And I know he's looking at something else. So he flips the projector off, turns around, and says, "Little Joe, what are those on your feet?" And I said, oh my goodness. I was waiting for the place to open up and just swallow me. I said, Coach, those are my silver shoes. And I'm waiting for him to say something else. And he says, okay. Turn the projector back on, never said another word. And I knew then that, and a few other incidents, I knew then that he was special. He had nothing to do with my coming to the University of Oklahoma. I didn't meet him. I didn't know him. I hadn't heard of him. But my first few days and weeks on campus for 2 days, 3 days, I knew he was special. Yeah. He was special.
Joe, when you look at the years that you played college football at OU, what is the big difference today than what it was when you were there?
Well, times, of course. We didn't have cell phones.
Thank goodness.
No, really.
No social media.
Yeah, plus, the mere fact that, we were always focused. We didn't have headphones or earplugs or anything like that, to go to games or whatever. And I think we were a little bit more so in a tunnel. I think, we were living a little bit more rigid times. My neighborhood, a little old lady used to sit on the porch, and if you got out of line, she'd tell you, and then she'd call home, and your mom and dad knew what was going on before you got there. And I think that more so too has, as minute as it may seem, I think that had a lot to do with some of the guys we had on our football team. We had the Selman brothers. I mean, you could, of course, practice tackling. We'd scrimmage 2 or 3 hours until the coaches got tired. There was no such thing as concussions.
Yeah.
You couldn't hold when you blocked. You had to do this. Now, I don't know about everybody else, but when it comes to holding, I just wish my guys could have held when we played, because with the way we blocked and came off the ball, like Army, did a few weeks ago, I think I'd still be running. I really do. If we could come off the ball and hold. And I think that's, that more so. It's just a different time.
Joe, you've seen the game change too financially at the Division I level. It's all about money. It's all about TV. It's all about conference alignment. All those things that go into. And I think the student athletes coming in are affected by that because they look at it that way.
Well, when you say it's all influenced by the almighty dollar, the mere fact that we're playing 11 o'clock games.
Oh, I know.
I mean, are you kidding me? I don't, you know, who plays football at 11 o'clock during the day on Saturday mornings? And I think, you know, that has, where at one time, you know, we were able to get Oklahoma kids who were raised on Oklahoma. And in the words of Steve Davis, he only knew 2 songs growing up. Amazing Grace and Boomer Soon. And that's, you know, and that's how it was.
Yeah. Sure.
And guys would even sacrifice, you know, going somewhere else to start and wait their turn to play here.
Yeah.
And we, you know, we didn't have a lot of, we had a lot of, you know, what they call 5 stars, but we had guys that weren't 5 stars that were so willing to play.
Like Steve Davis.
Steve Davis, Jerry Arnold.
Yeah.
I mean, all of our guys and linemen. And so when they got a chance to play, you can rest assured they were going to leave it all out there. They didn't care anything about going to the next level.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't care about, you know, what kind of stuff they were going to wear. I guess I worried about what I was wearing, but, you know, those guys, hey, they didn't do that. I mean, and they were willing to go ahead and play. They played tough. They didn't care about anything. They all cared about winning and the next guy next to them. And it was just it was a special time. It just really was.
Joe had over 4,000 yards in his career at Oklahoma. Back-to-back All-American, the consensus All-American, 74, 75, then the 76 draft. He was the number 4 pick in the first round of the San Diego Chargers. Your pro career, Joe, then I know Super Bowls in Washington. Really made your mark at Baltimore. What do you think of NFL time?
As a kid, you know, I always wanted to play football, but I wanted to be a Green Beret. I mean, I wanted to be a soldier. I just loved the uniforms and the salute. Everything was pressed and neat. I wanted to crawl through the woods with your gun. I mean, I just stuff I wanted to do. But I wanted to play football. And a lot of my heroes were, you know, they played pro football. You know, Gale Sayers, Tommy Mason. I mean, Lenny Moore was my favorite guy. He wore 24. I wore 24.
Yeah.
It was my birthday. My dad wore 24. All of that stuff. Johnny Unitas, the coach, was my favorite team. And what was so exciting about that was I got a chance to play for the Colts.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
I got a chance to meet Johnny Unitas. I got a chance to meet Lenny Moore. And what was so cool about it is I got a chance to play for a team that I loved as a kid, meet my heroes, and these guys were cool. I mean, you could approach them. I mean, they were just cool. Because, you know, I've met a few guys that, you know, you liked, and let me tell you what, they weren't exactly, you
good guys.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. And that was kind of, you know, a little disarming, but I love playing in the pros. It's a little different. College is great. For me, high school was the ultimate because I got a chance to play with my brother, which is something that I always wanted to do for my dad.
Yeah.
And that was it. Once that took place, everything else was icing on the cake. Getting a chance to play for 10 years. I never really thought about, you know, going to the Super Bowl, especially on the teams that I started. I think my first 5 years, I wasn't on a winning team.
Yeah.
I didn't have to play for a team with a winning record. I didn't care. I was just, I just wanted to run with the football. That's all.
Well, I tell you, so many great stories, so many great memories. When we come back, we haven't forgotten about the current topic. I don't know who to blame, but Joe Washington will talk about why they lost to Texas and what happened to Mike Stoops. When we come right back on Oklahoma Sportscene, stay with us.
Rising from the plains of Oklahoma is a destination for scholars and thinkers, dreamers and doers. This is where hope, hard work, and integrity create tomorrow's catalyst for change. And excellence is the standard demanded not only of your head, but your heart. This is Oklahoma State University, America's brightest orange.
Welcome back to Bricktown Brewery, and we mean Bricktown Brewery itself, right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on South Peoria. And they're hosting us for our first show outside our studio. Great to have with us a special guest, Little Joe Washington of Oklahoma. We talked about the playing days, OU Sooner days, pro football days. Now let's get back to what you're currently doing at the University of Oklahoma, Joe. Very busy with the old club.
Yeah, I'm executive director of the old club, special assistant to Joe. I enjoy it. You know, one good thing, I get a chance to see all of my old buddies.
That's right.
Get a chance to stay in contact with them. We want to make sure that, you know, their experience, of course, at Oklahoma has been, you know, where we're coming back. I always tell them I leave a light on for you. And we want to, you know, we just want to make sure that, you know, their experience and they're happy with what's going on at the university. We provide scholarship for them, reunions. We just want to make sure that we're in that same arms race. If Texas is doing something, you know, for their kids, then we want to do the same thing for our guys that, you know, that have left and come back. So it's fun and exciting.
Do you have a great participation with your old club members?
Yes, we do. You know, really, you know, our old club, you know, it's been around a long time. And for the most part, most of the other old clubs or clubs around the country have basically patterned themselves around, you know, ours. I know Darryl Raw took the old club down at T Association, the T Ring, the T Club. I mean, and all the other places have really taken of note, you know, the earlier years of our, you know, facility that we had for our old club members. And we're just trying to maintain, and hopefully, you know, our guys will come back.
You know, my members of the old club, I was a freshman football player at Oklahoma, and we had study hall in the old club underneath the stadium. And I will never forget when our coaches would come through. Mickey Martin was a graduate assistant. I ended up being a wrestling coach, but he wrestled there. And his favorite thing was to hit somebody on the head with his keys if they were asleep. That wouldn't happen today.
No, it would not. That is the difference between now and
indeed. You know, you take the old club. Is it as active now as it was when you were playing?
I think yes, but in a sense, you know, we had a tangible facility. We actually have a physical, you know, place. We don't have that now. We're working on it, you know, in our next phase of what they're building, you know, we will have one. But yes, hey, I think I would have to say they do a lot more now. You know, Joe has been very, very good, you know, as far as bringing all of our, you know, athletes back. And I don't mean, you know, just male. I mean all of the sports. So it's something, you know, that our athletes, once they graduate, you don't really pay that much attention to it. But it takes, you know, 14, 15, maybe even 20 years for them to really pay attention because they're out starting their families and career. But once that hits, you can rest assured they start looking back, and, you know, we make sure that, you know, we welcome with open arms. And like I say, our administration has really, you know, played a great part in, you know, allowing us to do what we do.
All right, Joe, you're on the sideline behind the bench, Cotton Bowl in Dallas, watching Oklahoma, Texas. Nothing worse for an Oklahoma than to lose to Texas, especially when your offense puts up 45 points.
Okay, so well, all I know is I can do this because I never lost to Texas. and that does not mean hook 'em. That means hook 'em. That means we kicked their, you know what, 4 years in a row. 4 years in a row. So, I watched the game. And I really root for Texas. You know, I don't want anybody to beat them but us.
Yeah.
And we've had a long run, you know, against them, and especially as of late. You know, we didn't play as well, of course, as we wanted to. Things took place, and I was proud of these guys for coming back and scoring 3 touchdowns.
Wow, it's amazing.
Man.
Yeah.
There you go. And I was proud of our guys, you know, when we played against, you know, Army.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to make a stop. It doesn't always happen. You know, they did it then. We couldn't do it, you know, this past week. And we ended up on the short end of the stick. And all I know is, hey, it's tough to lose to Texas.
Whew. What do you think the rest of the season holds for it? Got an open date this week, get rested and well.
And a new defensive coordinator.
Well, you know, that all happened, you know, this prior, post, you know, losing to Texas. I guess it's tough. It really is tough to lose to Texas, you know, nowadays. But, hey, we've lost one game the past 3 seasons each time, and we've been able to, you know, to show a little character and do things the way they should be done. And hopefully, with a little luck, we can do the same thing. And I truly believe that you have to have some things go right for you, this game, because hey, ball ain't round. You're not gonna get a true bounce.
Yeah.
And if we can keep people healthy, I think we can definitely play in the championship game. I really do. Got to have a little luck though. Got to have a little luck from other folks to be in the national championship game.
Your impressions of as close to you as I can remember is Kyler Murray. What a special talent he is, and boy, he has him quick, doesn't he? Woo.
He's quick.
Man.
He is quick. He's so quick that he almost tackles himself sometimes. I mean, he is just lightning in a bottle. Now, Brown, I would say probably has the best overall speed.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, hey, it's tough. You have to hold your breath, man.
Well, Joe, we got some special treat for you here. We're coming all the way over from Norman here to help us at Bricktown.
Joe, this is a Bricktown gift card, and it works over in Oklahoma City where you were earlier today, or it works here. Thank you for being our guest.
Oh, no, it is
Joe,
my pleasure.
Something special. My wife Becky set this up with Heather. Your own chicken fried steak. Little Joe, look at this.
Where's you all?
That's for you, Joe.
Oh, I know this is for me. I'm not sharing this, and I can handle this too. Gee, this is great. I tell you, I don't want you all to get me on camera eating anything. Man. This is awesome. Well, hey, I would have taken this even over the top, but I appreciate that, you fellas. Thank you so much.
I want to thank Heather. You guys come on in and take a look at their entire menu. It's incredible, and you see the portions are unbelievable here. So Bricktown Brewery, place for lunch or dinner, and you can't beat it. Believe me, it's fantastic. Ask for Big Mike. Ask for his meatloaf sometime too. It's great as well. Little Joe again. Thanks for being here as part of Oklahoma Sports Scene. Come on now, dig in there, and enjoy it.
Right.
We'll be right back with more on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Is this real?
That's real. That's jump in there, buddy.
That's real meat, I guarantee you.
We got to get his reaction. Take a taste here now. Give us your reaction. He's a connoisseur of chicken fried steaks. Loves them.
That is good. I thought this was fake at first.
No,
I thought you all were kidding me.
No.
That. No, the only problem is they've got vegetables, and I'm going to have to eat these first.
So it won't ruin the taste of the meat.
Yeah,
That's right. I got it. Thank you, Joe. Back with more in a moment here. Come on, keep eating.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
Oklahoma Sports Scene on the road, our very first remote broadcast. We're taping this at the Bricktown Brewery on South Peoria here in Tulsa, Oklahoma on a Monday night. And I'll tell you, the folks here are having a great time. Obviously, a lot of specials here. We'll talk more about those. We've already seen their Bricktoberfest, their special beers and ales they have created for this month of October. There's much more of that coming on. Right now, a very special guest from Rogers State University. It's our athletic director, Chris Ratcliff. Chris, welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your guys' support, too. You have one of our early sponsors, and Dr. Rice been very supportive of the program, too.
Yeah. And Dr. Rice is unbelievable, and we enjoy supporting it when we can.
Yeah. And we're really glad that Rogers State was able to get into Division II. I was at two different institutions where we took them to Division II, one from Division III and then one from NAIA.
Yeah.
And let's talk about what Division II means for Rogers State.
Oh, Division II, it brings a different type of athlete. We had transitioned in from NAIA, and NAIA, you have a lot of transfers, a lot of JUCO kids, a lot of kickbacks, and these a lot of times are you pay for those kids. It's 1 year type kids. Those kids are not graduating at most times, and with Division II, you bring in a different type of caliber athlete, one who's more focused on student athlete, like being the student and the athlete. We have seen our graduation rates go up. We've seen our GPAs going up. Each year, you have a 6-year cohort, and as we get further and further along, we've seen our numbers increase. So it's who we are in Claremore and who we are at Rogers State, the type of person we want to be, and that's what we want to be, is that type of student athlete that gives back.
I think it made a great difference at Northeastern State when we did it there, and then at Upper Iowa was all the difference in the world. The rural setting, and my goodness, I had professors that would call me every week and talk to, boy, these kids are really student athletes, because you have to have the qualifying scores now.
Yeah, and the NCAA Division II rules have gone up so much; they almost mimic or mirror Division I. But at Rogers State, we had 3.03 last year. And almost 70% of our student athletes had a 3.0. Excellent. And that's what we want to see. We want to see that student who's also who does well in the classroom, but also performs well on the court. Division II plays high. We play high level. We had a lot of the NCAA pays for our travel. We win conference championships. We're just not on TV as much. And always when they try to compare Division I, Division II, instead of that 6'2" pitcher, we're gonna have that 6-foot pitcher. Instead of throwing 92, he's probably gonna throw 90. It's usually about a couple miles difference. And instead of that 6'11" center, we're gonna have probably a 6'9" center in basketball. So it's usually just a couple inches or a couple, speeds difference from Division I.
As the school has grown, I have a lot of friends in Claremore, and I'm constantly asked the question, what I think, would football ever return to Rogers State?
I get asked that question a lot. We have other sports on our agenda we're looking into currently right now. It's interesting, we just had that segment with executive director. We are kind of looking at tennis and lacrosse and women's wrestling and those types of sports. Football is a very big undertaking. I love football. I was part of football 11 years at my previous institution. But it's a big undertaking. You're going to probably start off with a $1.7 million reoccurring budget every year. So every year we're going to put $1.7 million between salaries, scholarships, coaches, budgets, and all that. That's not even to build the stadium and all that. So, I like it because it brings a game day atmosphere on Saturdays. I like it because my alumni base grows. We have 120 student athletes out there in addition to the rest of them. Right now, I don't know when. You never say never, though.
Chris Ratcliff, the athletic director at Rogers State University. Chris, 14 sports at the school. You really took over in 2016, just as you were becoming officially Division II, and now you're about to switch conferences. Tell us about that move.
Yes, sir. When I came in a year and a half ago. I really quickly learned. I already knew about the institution. I knew about the conference because I'm on some national committees. There was a lot of instability. We had
it's the Heartland Conference.
Heartland Conference. We had 10 members, and then Permian-Dayton left, so we're down to 9. We had 11, then we went down to 10. And then Oklahoma Panhandle withdrew, went back to NAI. So now we're down to 9. Yeah. We knew the Lone Star was talking about maybe going after Lubbock Christian or Texas A&M International. So there was a lot of instability. And so we decided in our best interest, let's join the Lone Star. They invited us 2 years ago. It was the other way around. We invited them, and whatever reason it fell through at the last minute. But we didn't want to be out there with 6 or 7 institutions. Right. The NCAA mandates in 2 years to have 10 member institutions, and so we decided to join the Lone Star. It was a merger. We'll have 20 institutions.
Wow.
And so this is our last year in the Heartland Conference. We'll compete for the championships last year. But the last year we host the conference basketball tournament. We hosted at Tulsa Union. So we're excited about that. But it's going to be a new thing, a lot of travel. We'll have institutions from New Mexico, Texas, Arkansas, and Oklahoma.
There is a lot of travel in Division II. I think that's one of the things that you really, as an athletic director, you have to work with your vice president of academic affairs and everything about loss of class time, because there's a lot of that in Division II.
You're very correct. Our basketball typical trip leaves on Wednesday, comes back late Saturday, early Sunday. Because they compete on Thursday, Saturday. Like I said, we have a 14-hour trip to Western New Mexico on our schedule. We have to go to Laredo, almost to Mexico. And so we enjoy those trips, Oklahoma Christian or Cameron, when it's just only be an hour and a half, 2 hours types. And but it's a lot of travel. And that's why you got to have that student athlete, that student who understands the classroom. And our coaches do a great job of having study hall on the road and things like that.
It's unique, the Lone Star, because when we were in the Lone Star at Northeastern, football was a mandatory sport. If you didn't have football, we only had, Cameron got kicked out because of that. And Texas women, they allowed them in, but they didn't have football. But I think I was there when at Northeastern when there was that transition in Division I. And I remember telling President Webb, I said, it's going to hit, it's going to be in Division II, and it did. I mean, Pepper started moving to different conferences all over the United States.
Well, I think that same time that happened, Lone Star broke apart, the Oklahoma schools left, and created the Great American when I was in Arkansas. The NCAA decided to put that rule of 10. You have to have 10. They wanted some stability. Right. And I think that's really what's hurt. Now it's causing more schools in these super conferences because everybody's worried about, schools potentially leaving.
Chris, we have a couple of proud RSU alums on our crew here. Thomas Walking Stick along with Trevor McDaniel. We have a couple of questions for you here. Trevor wanted to know about facilities. Any new facilities being planned on the hill up there at Claremore?
As an AD, you come in, you start evaluating everything. You spend the first year trying to get to know the donors, trying to get to know the friends, and understand we don't have a lot, in the estimates of alumni. So we're excited to have alumni. Our oldest alum is 34 years old. And so I've also started evaluating facilities, and we are pretty close, probably hopefully in the spring, to start the capital campaign. And it's going to have a new indoor practice facility for golf and baseball, softball, upgrade Expo Arena, upgrade Soldier Field. We have one of the probably nicest soccer facilities in Division II. So facilities are all on the forefront.
And Thomas wanted to know about your chances of winning that last Heartland Conference where you jumped to Lone Star in basketball with your great coach out there, Justin Barkley, great friend of ours.
Great hometown boy. I know right down the road. Dad's a legend, Hall of Fame, I'm sure pretty soon. Anytime you have Coach Barkley coaching a team, I like my chances. And he's proven that he can do it with less talent and still be in the league. Last year we lost 4 kids season-ending injury and still won 18 games.
We didn't get to feed you tonight at Bricktown, but Coach, you have something for him to enjoy.
I'll tell you what, right here, for being on tonight, Chris, we want you to enjoy Bricktown Brewery on our...
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Thanks for your support. Give our best to Dr. Rice, and go Hillcats.
Go Hillcats.
Thanks, Chris. Hey, but time now for a GTR report. That's right. It's time for JB Haney to tell us what's going on with the Greater Tulsa Reporter. JB?
Always a pleasure to talk about the GTR. And, really, Pat Forrest Cameron and his wife sharing on the back for what they do. And they put out 6 of these GTRs in metropolitan Tulsa. So if you like to read about politics, sports, Terrell Lester has articles in almost every one of the editions that come out. But whatever you want to know in news locally, you can find in the GTR. So I encourage you, pick one up today.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lover skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
Great news. Primo Mitsubishi is again #1 in sales in Oklahoma. I've made some key changes. Next time you come in, you'll see some very familiar faces. Mitsubishi has increased discounts on all 2018 Mitsubishis. Save up to $3,000 on the all-new Eclipse Cross and up to $4,000 on other models. All Mitsubishis come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. Come see us at Primo Mitsubishi, 15309 South Memorial, or on the web at primomitsubishi.com.
And we welcome you back to the Bricktown Brewery, where Oklahoma Sportscene is taping live to tape, as we would say for you, and having a great time here. And they're taking good care of us, and waiting to see the comfort foods coming out at the end of this segment here. Got a very special guest, Gil, a guy you should introduce. You've worked very closely with here, Mike Whaley.
I'll tell you, Mike Whaley is the Associate Director of the OSSAA, and Mike has been there since 2009, has a tremendous job. Now he's taken over where the Executive Director used to be. He has the 5 and 6A large school basketball, all the football, all the track. He has eligibility and hardship waivers.
Wow.
And then when he does that, he comes to Bricktown to eat with us.
Exactly.
Welcome, Mike. And
my pleasure.
Again, a little more of your background. Coach for a number of years, a Hall of Famer.
Started off coaching out there in Sand Springs. It was a Sandite for a few years. Right. Took my first head coaching job down in Southwest Oklahoma at Mangum. Went to Southwestern, my alma mater, for a couple of years at Blanchard, and then finished my coaching career as the head football coach at Westmore.
Well, I'll tell you one thing for sure, that you have been all over the state when it comes to football. As a result of that, makes your job a lot easier what you're doing now.
Well, I think so, Coach. I think one of the things when I came to the association was the fact that I'd coached at all the different levels. During that time also, I spent 33 years as a basketball official. So I worked pretty much all over the state in all different classes. And that kind of gave me, I thought, a background of being able to talk to the small school folks and talk to the large school folks and still have a little street cred with both of them. Not a whole lot with either one, but a little bit with both of them. And so it's been, I think, a very beneficial background leading into what I was doing today.
Mike, how many schools are you talking about? How many student athletes are involved in the OSSAA and all the activities?
Well, when we talk about activities, we talk about athletic and non-athletic activities. So on the athletic side, we think we're in the neighborhood of 100,000 kids participating each year. But also on the non-athletic side, we're thinking in the neighborhood of 100,000 each year also. Approximately 480 to 485 member schools, kind of depends on what week it is and who's out there. But it's a large organization that touches almost every community in the state.
I think it does, and I think that's one of the things that sometimes people don't really understand. They kind of look at the OSSAA kind of like the NCAA. I've told people a million times, I said the membership passes things on. It's not those people down there making those rulings. In that vein, Mike, what are some of the pressing issues now that the association is having to deal with?
Well, I think one of the things that's been to the forefront lately is our public-private scenario. We have 480 member schools, but 25 of those are non-public schools. And so that could be government schools, they could be private schools. And so dealing with how to balance out the playing field between non-public and public is a challenge that every state in the union is looking at. This isn't a secret just for Oklahoma. It's not something that we're just dealing with in our state. And when we go to our national meetings and regional meetings, this topic is discussed every time. What are you doing with public-private? How are you adjusting public-private? And so to get that balance, that competitive balance where everybody has basically the same playing field to play from, it's very challenging. And I'm not going to tell you that we've got it exactly right, but I will tell you that it's an issue that we continue to look at and we continue to tweak. A couple of years ago, put together a committee that met for almost a year, or over a year, I'm sorry, to come up with a solution to that. Where we're working now is we take some things that have to do with the socioeconomic factors that schools have, and then we also look at what kind of success rate schools have had in the last 3 years, and that kind of tells us what we need to do as far as bumping folks up to a higher classification.
What do you think is going to happen with girls? Are they going to have football? Are they going to have wrestling? I mean, we see this so much on television. We read about it. What do you think?
Well, I think where we're at right now is what our membership has said. There are certain sports that we have no problem with there being co-ed participation. Football would be one of those at this particular time. Probably more because there's not enough football players out there of the female gender to have their own division. Whereas you bring up wrestling, we're getting a little closer to that. We're getting closer to a scenario now where we think it may be time to add a division of female wrestling as a standalone. As far as adding a sport, we already have the sport of wrestling. We already have females wrestling within that classification. Now the idea is it become popular enough that we spread and make it its own division? And in the 11 area meetings that are going on right now, we're going to discuss that. I think the feedback from the wrestling community has been, you bet, let's keep going forward. That's a nationwide trend of female wrestling, and I think you'll find our state right there with it.
What do you think about how would you, for an emerging sport, what would be a timetable that we would have if we were going to add girls wrestling?
The wrestling is a little different just because we already have the sport, and our board could decide to add a championship within that pretty much at their discretion. If we were going to add a totally new activity, and we're getting some push from lacrosse, we're getting some push from bowling, and we're getting some push from esports. Gaming.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And so, in fact, Northeastern State has added a gaming team, and we have several states in the federation now that have added state championships in gaming. So we've been approached by a national organization that wants us to do that. What we're trying to determine is there an interest? But also we've set up a policy, or are trying to establish a policy of how we would bring an emerging sport into the association. Obviously, we need some interest,
right,
and we would also need some commitment.
Visiting with Mike Whaley, the OSSAA Associate Director. And I was asked by one of the customers here at Bricktown, about lacrosse. It's been such a popular club sport. When do you think it might get into the high school activities?
Well, one of the things that I think our board is concerned about is that when we bring an activity in, are we bringing an activity in that is popular enough across the state classification-wise? We would hate to say that we have a sport just for one class. And right now, I think a lot of the feedback we're getting is that is a sport, lacrosse is, that's very popular in larger schools. And so we would like to think that we were offering something that was at least going across a couple of classifications, which is one of the trigger points in the policy that we're proposing is, are you reaching, we have 3 divisions within the OSSAA, large school, I hate to say medium school, but medium size enrollment, and then smaller school. So hitting 2 of at least 3 of those with some interest, I think would be something our board would be interested in.
What about the fall championship sports going on right now? Some championships being decided and some coming up.
Right, we just finished up fall baseball and the first wave of fast pitch softball and first wave of volleyball last weekend. Volleyball again coming up this weekend. Fast pitch softball in 4A, 5A, and 6A coming up this weekend. Weather permitting, if you'll turn the rain off so we can get those in.
Don't get Coach started on weather, people.
Yeah, don't talk about weather and meteorology to me, because
these guys have an ongoing deal with the news 6 and 10 on how much sports gets and how much weather gets.
Yeah, I don't even know what the discussion is, but I'm all for more sports. So.
Yeah, Mike, exactly.
Well, Mike, we really appreciate you coming. I think there's a lot of things that are on the table for the OSSAA over the next few years, and we appreciate the job that you do and the staff. I think it's important that our viewers know that it's not an easy job.
Well, it isn't, and one of the things, though, that makes it much easier is when we have member schools, of which Tulsa Public School is a member, who step up and pony up their facilities and their folks to put on state championships. We can't do that without folks like yourself who step in there and fill the gap. And so we're very appreciative of that.
Well, we appreciate you, and for appearing today, Bricktown Brewery, you have a gift card. And so next time you're here or over in Oklahoma City, be our guest.
As a professional leader, I appreciate that.
And Heather Bass is back with us now to show us some of these twisted comfort foods and specials here. Heather, what do we have here?
Here we have lightly battered avocado fries served with a mango habanero aioli.
Oh, pass that down to JV. That's healthy.
Wow.
There you go, JV. That's right.
Well,
let's see here. Yeah.
I'll try one.
And this is?
Our braised short rib served with mashed potatoes, green beans, red bell peppers, and a brown sauce. It's also fantastic.
Wow. Oh, I'm saying.
Oh, that is delicious.
See there?
How about some dip? You want some dip with it?
No.
And?
We have a blueberry poached salmon served with blueberry salsa and fresh broccoli.
Oh my gosh, that looks healthy too. There you go, Coach.
I don't eat healthy. Where's the beef?
Give the hamburger. I'll take the salmon.
We have the braised short rib burger.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
With the caramelized onions and also the short rib that you see on the other plate with a rich brown sauce and served with french fries.
Heather, thank you so much for hosting us here. Had a great time. Love the food. Love the Bricktoberfest, all the ale and the beers here and stuff.
Fantastic. It's great to have you guys. Great to have you guys.
And we need some tools here to start eating.
Oh, you do.
And with that in mind, it's time for the Remington Report. Let's go to Dale Day and find out what happened at Remington Park this past week. Dale?
On the heels of a very successful Oklahoma Derby Day, Remington Park now looks forward to the $1 million Oklahoma Classics Night on Friday, October 19th. One state bred to keep an eye on is the speedy Welder. He took on all comers from across the U.S. in the $150,000 David M. Vance Sprint on the Oklahoma Derby Day undercard. On from the outside, Westfest, and Petrov has left the back with work to do as 4 wide, but gaining with every stride as they approach the quarter pole. Welder will take him into the stretch. On top here in the Vance, it's Welder by a neck. Wings locked up, keeps the pressure on. Liederman Ken is third, 4 back to Petrov. 44.07 seconds for the half mile in the stretch. Race on in the Vance. Welder is out by a length and a half, trying to make it 2. Liederman Ken still chasing. Petrov and Pop Keenan in prolonged rallies. Welder is going to go on here and take the Vance. Welder on top by 3. Owned by Raymax Farms of Claremore, Oklahoma, Welder is the first Oklahoma bred to win Remington Park's richest sprint stakes race since Balco Bay in 2000. Teresa Luniak trains Welder. She was overwhelmed by his effort in the Vance.
He comes here, he knows what's expected of him, he does his job. And what I think is so neat about Welder is he can now come off the pace sit and then make a big run, or like he did today, he can go with them and then just leave.
Welder is expected to continue his sprint rampage here at Remington Park, next on Oklahoma Classics night in the Classic Sprint, and then later on in November in the Silver Goblin Stakes.
Thank you, Dale. We have a couple of Tulsa Roughneck matches to talk to you about. They've just come off a tough 2-1 loss to Rio Grande. Now, Wednesday they go to St. Louis, but then they come back to Tulsa. It's next to final home game coming up for the Roughnecks. They'll be playing their final home match on October 13th, Saturday at 7 p.m. They'll be taking on Seattle at One Oak Field at 7 o'clock. Get out and support the Tulsa Roughnecks. They wrap up the season. Hope to have one of the coaches or players with us on our next Sports Scene show to wrap the season for the Roughnecks. Also, the Tulsa Oilers start their 2018-19 season this weekend at Tulsa at the BOK Center, hosting Idaho Saturday night and Idaho again on Sunday afternoon. All right, guys, time for parting shots, and J.B. Haney leads us off.
Well, what I want to talk about first is just the fact that University of Tulsa playing this Friday night at 6 o'clock. They're playing a great team on a great network and all of this. But the thing that bothers me most is it's going to be so difficult for people who support high school football to go and support TU. So what I would like to just really help people with is those who are TU fans but haven't been going, you need to go this Friday night because they need your support. It's extremely important. And hopefully that television someday will be able to work things out to where there won't be a conflict between college football and high school football.
All right, Coach, we're all for that. Get out and support the Golden Hurricane. Coach?
Well, college athletics is a business. I think if you think it's anything else other than that, then you're not up at the time that we're at right now. When a TV can make the call and have games at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, have games at 9:30 on Saturday night, have games on Friday, Thursday, Tuesday, Monday, that's what it's all about. And it's one of the things that we have to live with. If you think it's not a business, then ask the former defensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma. It's a business. You win, you stay. You lose, you leave. It's all about selling tickets. As a director of athletics, I've always said it's not whether the game is won or lost. It's how many tickets were sold for the game.
And as a coach, you guys all know this. What do they always say? There's two types of coaches. One that has been fired and one that will be fired. My parting shot is about the tough weekend we just had in college football for our Big Four football teams in this area. 0 for 4. It wasn't a tough weekend. It was a horrible weekend. My gosh, Oklahoma State, unbelievable. The Cowboys just have an awful time winning conference games all of a sudden at Boone Pickens Stadium. They lost, in fact, the last 4, but they were all favored in that. And fortunately for them, they go on the road to Kansas State this weekend. We all know what happened to OU, of course, down at the Cotton Bowl. Talked about that. Cost Mike Stoops his job. There's going to be a lot of defensive shakeups. And Lincoln Riley's made it clear he will not put up with this any longer, as the OU fans knew that about 2 games ago. And, of course, the University of Tulsa, maybe they found a quarterback. This Boomer kid out of Collinsville High School has got him some hope and some encouragement. But, again, as JB said, get out there and support the Golden Hurricane this Thursday night. Arkansas, well, it's a tough one for Chad Morris, their new coach. They have Mississippi this weekend up in Little Rock. But for the Hogs, it's strictly rebuilding time. Well, guys, our first one out of the studio on remote with Bricktown Brewery, and we got to invite people to breakfast next week, right? There he is. All right. Give us some Bricktown Brewery. We go now with Jimmy's Egg next week.
Was that Billy Sim?
That could have been. I
don't know. We'll be at 71st and Garnett at Jimmy's Egg at 9 o'clock. And come and join us at Jimmy's Egg, because you know you can always get a good breakfast or lunch anytime at Jimmy's Egg.
Thanks, Bricktown Brewery, for hosting us here. That's it for Oklahoma Sports Scene. See you next time.